we're going to copy this isometric. To start with, we need to decide on a starting point. We're going to use that point over there as our starting point. And to start off with this isometric, we're going to pick a point in the bottom of our page to start off with. And we're going to draw 3 lines, construction lines. Okay, 2 of them using your 30-degree set square at a 30-degree angle. Remember that is your 30-degree set square. And then of course a vertical line as well to start off with from the same point. Once you've drawn those 3 lines, we're then going to draw this line here, which we know is 10 millimeters. So we're going to go and measure on our construction line 10 millimeters and draw out that line. And then on the other side here on this construction line, we can see we've got a side of 30 millimeters. So we're going to go and draw out that 30 millimeter line. Make sure that your measurements are nice and accurate, exactly 30 millimeters. Okay, and then we're going to go and draw this line over here, the one going up on the vertical line. And we can see from this side over here, these 2 lines are the same length as those 2, so we know that that line there must be 30 millimeters. So we're going to go and measure our 30 mil line up. Okay, now we've done that, we can also go and draw in that 45 millimeter line over here. But again, we're going to do a construction line first. It's always best in isometric to draw over construction lines. So we're going to draw in a construction line first and then go and draw in our 45 millimeter line on that construction line. Okay, now we're going to use a bit of projection to help us with this little front part over here. And we're going to simply project that little line across as a construction line at a 30-degree angle. And we're going to do that to help us to draw the other line that's going to come straight up. So we're going to draw across a construction line. And then when we draw this other line of our pillar, because we've got that construction line to meet up with, we don't have to measure it. We know it will be 30 millimeters long. So we can simply go and draw in that as a dark line. And then we'll come back here and complete this as a dark line as well to complete that little pillar. Okay, and the other thing is we can go and use this little pillar here to go and draw that pillar because they're the same size and shape. So we can go right across our page, draw another construction line. Okay, and we know that we've now got a 40 millimeter gap in between those 2 pillars. So we can go and measure a 40 millimeter gap. Okay, and make a mark 40 millimeters down, and then we know we're going to then draw a straight line going up for that pillar, and we know the height because we have that projection line, so we can immediately draw that in as a dark line. And then we know it's 10 millimeters wide as indicated there, so we're going to go and draw in that 10 millimeter line. And then of course again, now we don't need to measure anything for the rest of the pillar because we can just use the projection lines. This line we know will go up 30 millimeters, and then that line at the top there we know will now be 10. So we can just join it up. Okay, so we have our 2 front pillars over there. Now for the next little top part there, okay, we can see on the side here that that's 10 millimeters wide. And again, we're going to start off with a construction line. So we're going to draw in a little 10 millimeter construction line there. We're going to do not 10 millimeter one, just a construction line there and there. We're also going to do another one off of here and another one off of there. Okay, because we've got that little pillar, that little platform over there as well. Okay, now we're going to go and measure out our 10 millimeters on this first little one. Okay, we measure that 10 mil out, draw it in. And now again, because we know that all of these lines are the same size and they're in line with each other, we can draw a line going across. Okay, and we can simply use our projection lines to go and draw those in, because we know where they're going to stop because of those projection lines. And then we can also, of course, go and draw in those lines, because our projection lines have now shown us exactly where they need to go. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to go up, okay, for these little pieces here, and they're each 15 millimeters high. And again, we're going to use our projection to be able to help us make it a bit faster. So we're going to do a little projection line going up there. We're going to measure our 15 millimeters onto that line. And we can draw that first line in dark. Okay, and then we're going to use our projection to go and get our top lines. Our top line, we've got one there. And then, of course, we don't need to project, we don't need to measure anything for this line. It's already there. Okay, and then we're going to project that across to the other side, because we know that this little pillar here is going to be the same. So, same height. So now we don't even need to measure that. We can just project it up till it hits that line. And that's the same size, and then we can also just draw in this line. Okay, so we have our little pillars, and then if we've been nice and accurate as we've gone along, then these two little points should line up with each other, because they form the top part there of our shape, which is supposed to come together, as we can clearly see there. And then we have our back line that we need to draw in. Okay, that back line is going to be a total of 10 plus 40 plus 10, so it's 60 millimeters long for that back line. So again, we're going to go and start it off with a construction line, because we can now project off of this top pillar here onto that line to show where it's supposed to end. We don't even have to measure it. Okay, and then we can go and draw in that back line as a dark line. Okay, and then the last little piece, of course, is this top part here, and then our hole. So the top part, okay, that little top piece here, we know this is 20 millimeters. Okay, this little piece over here is going to be 10. It's about halfway. So we're going to go and measure. Well, before we measure, we're going to go and draw in a little construction line. Okay, and then we're going to measure on that construction line 10 millimeters. And draw our first little line going inwards. Okay, and then we're going to use our projection again to get our others. We're going to project off of this point, and then we're going to draw our dark line going in from there till it hits into that projection line. So we don't have to measure it, and then we can complete that line as well. Okay, so now we've got all of the outside part. We just need this little inside hole. Okay, and we can see that that inside hole is meant to line up with this corner over here, so we won't have to measure anything there. We can just take that corner straight down as a construction line, and then let it meet up with our baseline over here. And there we go. And then we can draw our baseline straight up. Okay, and then of course there's a line coming from that corner in till it meets this side here, so we can just go and draw that in dark. Again, no need to measure because it's already there. Okay, now all we need is the hole, and according to this there's a 6 millimeter gap here and an 8 millimeter gap at the top for the hole. So we're just going to go and measure on this side over here. We're going to go and measure our 6 millimeters in, so we meet that up with 6 millimeters, and we're going to make a mark, and then we're going to project down a nice construction line again, 6 millimeters away. And then the other one we needed was 8 millimeters. So on that construction line I've just drawn, I'm going to measure 8 millimeters, I'm going to make a mark, and then draw another construction line over here. Okay, So there's our 8mm gap, and there's our 6mm gap here. Okay, and then at the bottom here we're going to have the same gap as what we had at the top. Okay, also 8mm. Okay, so we're going to go and add in another little gap here. Okay, actually that spacing there, that's 6. This is also going to be 6mm. You can see it's about the same size. It's not 8. 8, the top part's a bit bigger. So we're going to do 6mm at the bottom. And again, we're going to measure on this construction line that we drew. Going to measure up 6mm, mark it off, and then draw a construction. Well, but now we don't have to go into construction lines anymore. Now we can do dark lines, because we know where that line's supposed to end. Okay, it's got to end over there, and then this top line over here. Okay, that top line is supposed to end there. So we can draw that in dark, and then of course we can draw in this side in dark as well. Okay, now we just need the depth of that, and the depth of that, okay, they don't give you that measurement there, but it's into this piece here, and that was 10mm wide there, so we know that that's also going to be 10mm wide. And to get that, we're going to have to go and draw another construction line from that corner out, and then go and measure the 10mm on that construction line. Okay, draw that in, and again we don't need to measure, we're just going to project from here up until that hits the edge of the hole there for that line, and then the same thing over here from that corner till it hits that line there, and there we go. Now remember that you don't have to erase any of your construction lines if you've got a really nice difference in darkness between your dark line and construction line, and you can clearly see the shape versus your construction lines.